Yo, what is up, guys? It's Travis, your awakening mystic main. And today I'm coming at you with an updated crystal preset guide to update with the new region, all the new tier stuff, all the bitterness crystals, the new humes. And I want to make today's video pretty short, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So first, you'll see my PvP general build. This PvP general build holds a few crystals and constants. The first things first is you're going to have Jin Spec Evasions ×2 and High Tide tier as your 3 constant crystals there. You're always going to use Jin Harphias ×2. You're always going to use Bitterness crystals ×2. And then for this set here, the 4 Humes kind of stay in place. The outfit crystal can be critical hit or movement speed. Up to you, but I like to use critical hit because sometimes I'll fight without a Giant's Drought. Now that I've gone over what stays constant, what changes in this build quite often is these 3 crystal slots, right? These 3 crystal slots are the only ones that you can kind of flex, and I kind of flex it in the hybrid build here for resistance, but you can reflex it for a lot of different things. So I'll kind of go over what I would use. So let's say I'm not fighting an evasion player, I'm fighting a Valk that stacks resistance. What I would do instead of Jin Vipers, I would use a Jin Ignore Knockdown build, and using the Jin Ignore Knockdown would allow me to penetrate the resistance, as well as I don't need the accuracy because I have 100% hit rate. For my general build, I don't really like to drop the Humes, but for my damage build, I do drop the Humes for a little bit more damage. But yeah, you can kind of change these up. Let's say I'm fighting a DR class that doesn't have resistance, right? Then I would probably use Corrupted ×2 and potentially, potentially some more AP like Red Battlefield Viper and Corrupteds. And this would be like my damage iteration, but still tanky. So these kind of things you can play with. I would say for the most part, since a lot of evasion stackers have a lot more evasion now because of the new crystals, these 3 crystals right here, I like to run the Jin Vipers and then also run Glorious Aluka or Rebellious. And I think Rebellious is kind of a nice sweet spot there. It has a little bit of tankiness as well as some HP. So for my damage build, this is kind of the only crystal build that's really different than all these other ones for PvP. It takes away the 4 Hume set and replaces it with 2 times Glorious Alukas and 2 times Corrupteds. So you're basically trading quite a bit of tankiness for 22% crit damage, 2% attack speed, and 14 human damage. Whether or not this trade-off is great, is up for debate, as well as the Bong Wong tier. This tier is kind of meh, I would say. I don't think you should use it for the most part. I think High Tide tier comes above it, but this is kind of a build I'll play with when I'm fighting somebody who's clearly a gearlet and they can't kill me. So the hybrid and evasion, these both use the same crystals in this build. It's just like a quick change if I want to. So this would be like my resistance setup if I'm fighting somebody in 1v1. This would be like my full DP setup, right? These 3 crystals don't really get used that often, but when I'm in my full DP, I'm not doing any damage anyway, so I'll run these. You can swap out the Elcars for more evasion, but if you're playing DP, I highly recommend keeping your Elcars so you can CC people. Otherwise, you're just a slow kind of person on the floor. The last set that kind of changes differently from my general set is my mob set. I use 2 agility crystals, which are 5 mil each. That's 10 mil. I use 2 critical hit crystals, which are sub 4 mil. Let's just round up. That's 20 mil. These agility crystals, 10 mil, that's 30 mil. 10 mil, that's 40 mil. You know, let's say 50 mil right here. 50 mil. Here is where it kind of gets a little bit more expensive, the Dark Red Fang. So that's like 200 mil. So we're at 250 mil. The Elcars are cheap as fuck. We're at 300 mil. And then the Jin Cobs are like 80 mil each. So about 450 mil for this PvP mob setup. And then my PvE mob setup is similar cost, maybe like 1 billion because the powers are a little bit more expensive. But yeah, this one's about 1 bill. Still, you don't want to lose a guaranteer. All right, so for the PvE gen build, just imagine this is a guaranteer. I don't have the crystal yet, but that's going to be the next thing that's slotted in. The 2 times Glorious Alukas are held constant throughout all the builds. 2 times Rebellious, as well as 2 times Decimatation, and the Djinn Vipers for accuracy. Now this kind of gets swapped out if I'm doing back attacks right here, but for the most part I think Corrupteds are pretty strong, and it's very niche to use the PvE back attacks, the Mysterious Darkness Crystals. You'll notice that I have these Absorption Crystals in here. I like to use these at Hex because I watch anime and sometimes you lose focus, and this can be very helpful. I also use the Dark Red Fang Crystals in case I'm using a Frenzy, so then I hit +5 crit without having to use a Spirit Perfume Elixir. Lastly, you just have like a power here. So the damage build just kind of takes away the HP absorptions. Right now I'm planning on playing with Alukas for 2% attack speed, but you can definitely use more powers here. For the res build, I have double Adamantine and Intimidation instead of the Absorption and Dark Red Fang. So don't want to use Frenzy with this kind of build, because then you lose out on +5 crit. And then I have 1 Elkar here. This is kind of my Olin's grind build. Alright, so for the PvE back attack, it's pretty much the same as the damage one, except it swaps out the Corrupteds for the Mysterious Darkness Crystals. And lastly, we got the mob build that I use when I'm, fighting people in the mobs, and there is a chance to lose my crystals, especially on my Zerk, because I don't know how to PvP on my Zerk. So that's a full run through of my crystal presets. I hope this video helped you guys out, you Evasion mystics out there, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.